Aloha and welcome to Beautifully. My name is Dr. J and I am your host. I'm also a licensed psychologist, award-winning author, and happiness coach, and I am delighted to be able to share in this container with you today. I actually saw this, I guess you would call it a meme, recently of a fish in a fishbowl, right? But that fishbowl is actually floating in a deeper ocean, and the one caption underneath the fishbowl points to the fish in the fishbowl as religion. And there's a fish that's swimming outside of the fishbowl in the larger ocean, and that is called quote-unquote spirituality. And ever since seeing that meme, whenever I go to write something and I'm in the habit of using the word container to denote the space that we are creating intentionally with a purpose, I find myself cringing or maybe feeling a little bit of resistance because I don't want to be stuck in a container. I don't want to be stuck in a fishbowl because this isn't about sharing ideologies in a way where I'm going to tell you that that's the only way you need to see or perceive this world. But I'm sharing in these thoughts, these ruminations, if you will, with the purpose and intention of inspiring something inside of you to help you to connect to your dots. I was caught up in the conflict today because there was a part of me that wanted to talk about my journey of spirituality because it's something that keeps coming up over and over again and get so many questions. That's probably the number one question I get are questions about my spirituality and what the journey has looked like for me. But then there's also another part of me that had this particular episode planned and mapped out where I wanted to talk about what it means to be a people pleaser. And I'm hoping that I can sit back and kick back and relax and see how my subconscious mind will weave the two together. Because if there is something or anything that I have been really curious about lately, it's this idea that I don't have to go with the flow in the sense that I have to surrender all of my desires to the greater cause of the universe, if you will. But that maybe we are co-creating in this life and in this universe. And it's not just about surrender or just about willful control, but maybe it's a little bit of both. And not taking turns where at one point in time I'm surrendering and at another point in time I'm under willful control. But maybe there's a way to poetically and harmoniously interweave the two together. So I'm just going to see where my subconscious mind leads me with this. I do have an idea of some of the ideas I want to get across. And this notion that maybe perhaps I can share with you the things that keep coming up, the question that keeps coming up for me in a way that feels intentional, and that maybe both can take up the same space simultaneously. So here we go, and let's see where we can co-create in this space together. So if you know me, you know that I am a firm believer that nothing happens by, I'm doing air quotes now, coincidence. That everything happens not to you, not for you either, but that everything happens by you. That perhaps maybe our one life purpose in being alive at this point in time is to rise up from the state of sleep that we've been in, to remember and to reawaken that part of us that knows that we have this particular responsibility to really take up the mantle and to proclaim that we are the divine embodied in this human experience. And if that's the case, it's not to say that we're condoning anything that reckless, selfish behaviors are condoned or to be looked at with, or just maybe turned a blind eye to. It's not condoning anything in specific or in broad general strokes, but that perhaps there is a part of us that begs to be released, unleashed, to be awakened, and to do so in a way where maybe perhaps it's not very different from learning how to surf the waves. And today, all I can think about is this idea that you and I are here to really take up our space in creating or co-creating our personal realities and experience in a way that honors the true nature inside, but also gives us hope to know that we can surrender and be humble in the notion that we are just tiny little specks in the vast universe of it all. That there are so many far greater things beyond our imagination. That there are things that we can't begin to conceptualize or capture because of the way that our brains are neurologically wired at this point. And that perhaps we're here to just stretch our capacity for conceptualizing and understanding the nature of the God spark within. My spiritual journey started, I would say there's really no definitive beginning point, but I definitely went through a very deep, dark night of the soul back in 2018. I think I got a few tastes of the dark night of the soul in like 2017-ish, and probably when I was a lot younger as well, through the different experiences that I had growing up as a child. But 2018, 2019, I stumbled upon or into, or maybe perhaps the more accurate way to say this is that my spirit literally pushed me off the edge of a cliff. And down I went into this dark, tumultuous abyss where I went to bed at night wishing that I wouldn't wake up the next morning. I would find myself curled up in a bathtub, bawling my eyes out because of the immense pain that I felt. And someone asked me recently how I like to connect to the God or the sacredness of this world, the universe, the creator. And for me, the past few years has been through the archetypes or the frequencies of animals. So when my spiritual journey started through the dark night of the soul back a few years ago, I have had all sorts of different animal spirits come to me. And I had received them with open arms. In fact, maybe there's no way to share how overwhelmingly humbled and grateful I was that these beautiful spirits were coming to seek me to bring me solace. But along with that came this immense capacity to feel suffering. And even today at this point, I can't watch different documentaries or read different books. One that just came across my lap today is, I think it was a documentary called My Octopus Teacher or something along the lines of that. But I can't get myself to watch or read anything that talks about the suffering of animals. Because if I do, I open up a big portal of immense grief that I really can't contain completely yet. I'm learning how to, but I'm just not there yet. And so I'm connecting with my divinity, my spirituality, not just with, in my meditations or the beautiful moving downloads or transmissions I've had. I mean, I've gone so far as to seek that divine connection in different countries like Peru, through the plant medicine of ayahuasca. I can't stop, or actually there was a period of time I couldn't stop touching my tarot cards. I had to constantly be carrying around a deck of tarot cards for a while. It was very fascinating to say the least. And all throughout this journey, the thing that I keep coming back to and over again is this need or desire to surrender. And this surrender, if you want to look at it from a different perspective, is to allow the ego to die. It's the ego death. And the ego isn't something that we think of as synonymous as with the word pride or prideful. But the way that ego is experienced in my physical body is this collection of different stories, narratives, different life experiences we've had. Everything that you've experienced, that you've collected through osmosis in this particular life and through the baggage that you've carried from other past lives, all of the things in some that have put blinders on your ability to perceive this human experience at its purest form. And I remember going to Mother Aya, asking to receive love, to be able to witness and experience love in its purest form. And I definitely did not expect what I received. But essentially, towards the end of all of the ceremonies, I realized that in order for me to receive and to experience pure love, I need to disembody the ego from my experience. And so, this idea that we are all on the spiritual journey with the one sole purpose of stretching our ability or capacity to understand and to commune with our Creator, the God spark, the divine. It goes without saying that maybe in our generation today, we've completely sensationalized what spirituality means. We think it means going to the desert for 3 to 4 day events where we're dancing, maybe high on psilocybin or whatever that is. Spirituality isn't the act of meditating or sitting with your crystals or divinating something in the future that might happen, to be honest. There are so many different possible timelines that you could jump onto right now from this point. It's really funny to think that anyone, including ourselves, could divine something to happen. However, if we're to go back on track here to say that spirituality is not an act of meditating or playing with your crystals or praying or reading the Bible or going on a trek to your pilgrimage or home country, whatever that looks like. Spirituality is not those actions in and of themselves. Maybe that's what it looks like on the surface. But spirituality is literally where the word yoga comes from. It's to be in union with the divine spark. And if you want to be in union with the divine spark, it means that you have to create a sacred space to be able to intentionally and purposefully drop into the experience of connecting and tuning in to that creative frequency, to love, to the alpha and the omega, right? And even as I am sharing this podcast with you today, or this episode, I find myself in a space where I am feeling attacked, if you will, by all of these judgmental thoughts. So it's these thoughts, we can think of them as thoughts, but my childlike brain likes to imagine them as these entities, right? Each with its own specific unique identifier that we would name as a thought. But all of these particular things, entities, beings, whatever you want to think of them as specific thoughts, they want my attention. And that's the key here to really defining and understanding how spirituality can actually come to life for you and for me. The ability to commune with the God spark is all about understanding that as soon as you label yourself as anything, whether it's a descriptor or a name or identity or a role, you keep putting these blinders on. And in order for you to commune with the Creator, with Source, those blinders need to come off. And the quickest way for you to take those blinders off is to remember that the most powerful and most true sentence in the English language is I am, period. There are no words to describe yourself that come after that. There are no roles or identities, expectations that come after that. It's just that you are. Your awareness and your attention right now is the only thing that you have completely within your responsible grasp. And your purpose in this lifetime is to be able to master your ability to ride this wave with such finesse and grace through the context, if you will, of your own unique essence, that you are co-creating your life experience with Source, with God. I started this episode by saying aloha. by greeting you with this word that for me is so sacred. Aloha. To some, aloha means hi, goodbye, hello. Aloha, when broken down in its purest form, it carries or embodies this essence of helping you to remember that you are creating this life with Source, that you carry the presence of your breath, which is a gift, by the way, and we take it for granted so often. But aloha means to be able to carry your presence of breath with your specific essence. And that's the way that I perceive aloha. Just like I perceive the words bodhisattva or bodhi in a way that is unique to me, in a way that I like to express creatively from my own space with integrity, with love and honor, I invite you to take the essence of aloha, which is you carry the presence, the sacred presence of breath within, that you carry the responsibility of shaping that breath, of where your attention goes, that you might be able to find yourself in a way, in a space, perhaps, that every time something is requested of you. So in or through the summer camp here at Bodhi Sparks, I'm learning that the idea to pause is such a sacred one, such a powerful one, because it is so intentional and so particular. Pause. It gives you the space, it creates the space for you to be even more intentional than you were before. Just pause. When something is expected of you, when you have a thought, when you notice a particular detail, when you are experiencing any emotion, good or bad, those are in air quotes too, take a moment to pause and notice how when you become aware that your attention and your awareness is the portal, is where the God spark, the divine, the creator expresses itself, that maybe perhaps the way you've been taking your life, your day, your moment to moment for granted, maybe you get to see what a privilege it is for you to be able to complain about the things that you used to. Maybe perhaps by understanding the gravity of this idea that we can pause no matter what, then perhaps you can define yourself in such a way that that period really does come after I am, and that you have no desire to seek any kind of explanation or definition or description of who you are, not just from other people, right? Maybe you think of yourself as beautiful or smart or not enough or whatever those descriptors are. Maybe perhaps when you begin to pause in this space, in this moment, you can become aware that any type of desire or attachment to a specific place, person, experience really does dissolve and disappear, because you are just the attention, you are the awareness. And so your spiritual journey, if you're listening to this episode, might look a particular way based on the things that other people have told you that it needs to look. Maybe, like me, you've recently found yourself in a space where there's just so much grief in this world, or maybe there's just not enough patience, this divine rage that gets so angry at the state of affairs that we find ourselves in, how much we've distorted the beauty and the truth of what it means to be alive. Or maybe perhaps on your spiritual journey, you've been focused. Maybe your attention, your awareness has been swimming around or in the environment of wanting to manifest, if that's abundance, if that's health or love, whatever that looks like. I want you to know that there's no wrong way to do this, and that all of people-pleasing stops the moment you become aware of how powerful the ability to pause is. And when you add to that the awareness and your embodiment of the understanding that you are the God spark, in its creative essence, expressing itself through you. That you get to, knowing that you are, period, experience whatever you'd like in this world right now, in this time and moment, then maybe perhaps life can feel a little bit lighter for you, a little bit more joyful, more along the summer vibes, if you will. I hope this was helpful and inspiring something for you today, my friend. As always, if you have any questions, any feedback, any thoughts, I would love to hear them. I will make sure that my contact is available below. As always, I am sending you much love.